Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. How are you doing today, Thomas Doty?
I am so happy to be home. I've been gone for over a month, and it's great to be back in my own place.
Well, that is a wonderful thing. Glad you're home safely. Last week we talked about the diversification, how important it was. And this week we're going to be talking about how good financial advisors are hard to find. Now, I know some of you all probably said we talked about financial advisors before, but today we're going to talk about some of the things that really determines whether it's a good financial advisor or not, because most people tend to just shy away from getting advice. But we're going to get into that in a minute. But like always, I want to just remind you all that click on the like button and the heart button so we get more traction. And please put comments in there. And we like to make this interactive. And the way that you can be interactive is by you putting comments in the comment box. You know, if it's something we talked about, or you have a question about something we talked about, or if you have another topic you'd like for us to discuss. I mean, if it's not too far off what we're talking about, we'll address it right here today. But just want to let you know, as always, just want to give you the disclaimer. We are not financial advisors. We are financial educators. So we were not selling any products. We're not trying to push any particular financial advisors or any particular company or fund or anything like that. We just want to try to provide you with information so that you can be empowered to be able to take control over being able to manage your portfolio. So with that though, like always, let's start at the top of the chart. And I know you got some good news today about
I did. It's
God. I didn't even get it out fully.
I know.
God.
I didn't want you to get your hopes up.
Oh man, I had hopes today, man.
No, it's been crazy. The market has been really weird. The Dow was down. It was up today, but it had a few down days in a row. There's still some negative talk about interest rates going up and gas prices. I think they cut supplies, and that played a role in it. And Apple's a big part of the Dow, and that's down, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Nasdaq again, it's more interest rate driven, and it's down a couple of percent. Microsoft's hanging in, not much going on there. It's up a couple of points. Tesla's down 7, as we always talk about it. It's up and down. Now, Apple's down. Apple has had a couple of rough days, and the thing dragging it down is the Chinese government has not allowed any government employees to use iPhones. And so there's a little worry there that they're wondering if they're going to take it any further than that. But the thinking is that they probably won't, because Apple also employs a lot of Chinese. So if they started cutting back, they could inevitably pull their production out of China, which would have a negative effect on China. But I'm not sure what they're trying to get at. They have a big, the big rival to China, Apple over there. This should help them a little bit. But they're thinking the total effect of that will only be like 500,000 units. And Apple's coming out with the iPhone 15 shortly. So they're expecting a big push on that. So we'll see how that goes. Pfizer, not much change. It's still kind of just hanging in. And NVIDIA, let's talk about NVIDIA for a minute, because it's down 32 points, almost 7%. And it's still up like 230% for the year. So it's not like it's troubled by any stretch of the imagination. But the thing is, there are a lot of rumors on the Twitter and some of the social media about NVIDIA kind of just falling apart. And a couple of things that are out there are kind of accurate. Like its price earning ratio it's like 126, which is pretty high. if you look at the total Dow, it's only, I'm sorry, the total S&P 500. I think the average of those is only like 26. So it does have a very high price earning ratio. But if there's 51 analysts following NVIDIA, and it's a buy on 47 of those analysts, and 4 analysts have it as a whole, which means everybody's still positive on it. But there is still some negative vibe out there, just because the price earnings ratio is still crazy high, and it's grown so fast that kind of has a few people worried. But the average forecasted stock price by those 51 analysts is like $6.95. So it looks like it still has some room to grow, but we'll see how this goes. It's one of those situations where people are wondering if the valuation is backed up by the fundamentals. And right now, with the earnings they announced after the third quarter, it seems like it is, but we'll see how things go in the next couple of months. But things are still going to be shaky for a while. I mean, we've been talking about this. It's until interest rates are settled and some of the other crazy things go away, then we'll know where we are. But right now, just hang in. That's what we always tell you.
And it's so interesting about, the economic news, though, just a little economic outlook. America has surpassed, as far as production and GDP, Japan, which that's haven't happened in a long time. And matter of fact, America is doing better economically than all the major developed countries. And you talk about China. China's having major problems. They stopped reporting their unemployment numbers. Their unemployment is up to 21%, and especially amongst youth, they don't even produce or publish their unemployment numbers anymore. So I think China is in for, because they say every major civilization has a fall, and I think China, because they got over 1 billion people, and they also are bucking about imperialism now from the old rules. But another thing, though, economic news, Russia's currency is less than a penny. The value of Russian currency is, and you're talking about problems, and their inflation rate is at 18%. So, America, we teetering along, and a lot of people are saying we might, forego a recession. Depends on, what the Federal Reserve does going forward. But, despite all of that, we just ticking right along, man. And like we say, people who have money are doing okay, and people who don't, they're just struggling. But if you manage your portfolio, correctly, you could take these future shocks, because like I said, the markets haven't been taking big hits, though.
Yeah, there's a couple of things coming down the pike. The auto strike.
Oh, yeah.
That would kind of mess things up a little bit. They're asking for like a 46% wage increase, which, when you look at the fact that they haven't been getting big increases the last couple of years, and the Teamsters Union with I think it was UPS that had the big They got like 48%, but they hadn't got a raise since 2019, and so if you're an employee and you're looking and see the millions of dollars they pay their executives, good times or bad, and inflation is killing everybody. So they're pretty much saying, hey, we haven't been able to increase our standard of living in a while. Same thing with the airline pilots, American airline pilots. At almost a 50% increase. And that's over 4 years. All those numbers of 46 to 48 and 50, that's over 4 years. But still, that's a pretty healthy increase. But those industries had not had increases very much. But this thing is just broke with what the executives make versus what the average employee makes.
They showed the guy that came back to Disney, to take the helm to get them back on track. He got something like 20 men, 25 men. I'm like, golly.
Yeah,
And they
and,
talk,
there was a study, and it said back, you go back 30 years ago, or maybe a little longer, maybe 40 years ago, and they had the relationship between the CEO's salary and the average employee. And it used to be a meaningful number. And I don't remember the number, but it was something like 30. Like the CEO made 30 times more than the average employee at that particular company. But now that number is up over 100. And I've seen it in action. I mean, it's kind of broke the way it works, because the HR department obviously reports to the CEO, and so they pretty much determine what his salary is going to be. And they say, well, if we had to replace him, we'd have to pay X amount. Then you get that vicious cycle. Well, his salary went up, so the other guy, his salary's got to go up. Then the other guy says, well, those two guys go up, mine got to go up.
right.
So that's how you get the mess you have now. But yeah, there's something wrong there. It really is.
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with the corporations, because and they be getting the pass, and like I remember like a pharmaceutical, and thank God President Biden just negotiated with the top 10 pharma companies for drugs for Medicare thing. Thank God he's making a leeway there, but it's just crazy though the way the things cost. And they said wages are going up, but they still like the people are not paying the people, and they just taking the profit for themselves. So we'll see where it goes.
So one more thing on that, and it was kind of crazy because, having been an executive at PPG, the good thing was that even if raises weren't that big, you still got your bonus,
Right.
stock, and you still got options. So, and in bad years, the average employees, they got very, very small raises or no raises. So there's something wrong with that. There was never a very, very bad year once you make executive level in a corporation. There's so much money coming from so many different places that it's never a bad year. So
right. Well, the thing is, like we always say, it's about the long play. It's about being informed. Keep your nose to the ground, getting the information, and managing. Your assets to where you can make when it's down and make when it's up. It's all about diversification, like we talked about last week. So, just want to get into the cryptocurrency dope. And if you had the Bitcoin, you might have made a little money. It's up $247. It's up 1%, but the whole market cap is just went up only 5 billion, and that's not much at all. And that's amazing that Shiba Inu, man. I mean, that the people who have that and is holding on waiting, God bless you, man, because it went down again to number 15 from the 15th spot. But hey, that's the cryptocurrency market, though.
Wow.
And hopefully you made out, and if you're holding, hopefully it'll turn around for you. So let's talk about today's subject, though.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, Bob. You think about creating a relationship with a financial advisor, and I mean, ideally, it would be something you would create, and it would last a long time, and everything would be rosy. Theodore Roosevelt quoted, "No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care."
That's it. Say that again.
No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. In other words, once somebody cares about you, then you can get into how much they know. But it has to be a situation where you feel like the guy has your best interest at heart. Especially when it comes to financial advisors and their clients, you have to know that guy really cares about you, has your interest at the top. And people usually keep their finances personal because Like nobody wants to let anybody know that they aren't making a lot of money or don't have a lot of money. So, what you make, what you're worth is tied to your sense of identity, your self-worth and well-being. And so once a client engages an advisor, it's a personal bond because you pretty much have to tell him everything about yourself, assets and liabilities, so he can handle what he needs to handle. And if you got a crack in a relationship, that can break the trust. And so it's not going to work if there's not that trust between the two. And so if you think of a close friend you have and you made an investment in that relationship, you guys have a bond. When your friend forgets your birthday or makes you mad, then there's a crack. After your friend apologizes, you forgive them, the relationship continues. It's because the bond has been nurtured over a period of time and the trust level is strong. And so you can overcome those small bumps in the road, But if things get out of hand, he talks behind your back or does something, steals money from you, steals something from you, then that you can get a situation where the crack can get to be unforgivable. And then the friendship can't survive. So like a good friendship, a good client relationship can survive small little cracks as long as there's a strong bond of trust and communications. Can't underestimate how important communication is in that relationship between the client and the advisor. The key is being aware of small cracks while they're reinforcing trust through communication.
And the thing about it, though, it's about knowledge and communication when it comes to a good financial advisor. To be a true fiduciary to people, financial advisors must continually expand their knowledge, hire top quality people, and set their practices up to do the best job they possibly can. Now, advisors must communicate and serve clients as if each of them their most important client. I mean, I was an investment advisor for the Acacia Group and the Calvert Group, and what I found though, when I had people come in, we would give them a free 1 hour consultation, and we tell them they could bring all their financials in, the stocks, insurance policies, and other things that they have, wills and taxes, and we would look them over, and we would help them just within a 1 hour consultation, just to prove. But then they still felt like they didn't trust, and a lot of people don't have faith in advisors because, some advisors are really trying to just churn commissions. A lot of advisors don't keep in touch regularly with their clients, and that's how you build the trust and the bond. They don't call them, they don't keep phone calls and meetings, and they must, be able to make a person feel comfortable, because most people are apprehensive about, giving their information. I mean, just to regular people, their own family. And I don't know if it's pride or some people, I've seen it different ways though. I've seen people who were the worst were doctors and attorneys. And I thought they were the most astute because they made so much money, but they didn't know how to manage money. And when you sat down with them, they felt intimidated because they think they should have known. So their pride, and I'll tell them, they say, oh yeah, I know that, I knew that, instead of just opening up. And the hardest thing was getting people to show their whole hand. Seeing that people, people just don't trust people, especially with their financial information. But it's a simple formula. You just got to get an advisor who you develop a relationship with, and you can tell they care, and they communicate, and they just do the best possible job they can do for you.
Yeah, but let's talk for a minute about what causes some of those cracks in that relationship. And most situations, the clients aren't financial experts, and in almost all situations, their money is very important to them, and there's some insecurity, especially when there's volatility. When the market drops, somebody needs to reassure you that everything is okay. So it's not the portfolio loss so much that it's the crack that needs attention. There's that little insecurity or fear. So when market declines happen, people can react in one bunch of different ways. They can have fear, insecurity, question of approach, fees, and exasperation. So those are the things that cause the crack. We'll talk about each one of those now.
Yeah. Well, one thing though is the fear factor, and that emotion, is just, sometimes citing the facts and figures will not mitigate those feelings, and to counteract the fear, financial advisors should be reminding clients, of the long-term strategy, which we talk about all the time on an ongoing basis. And just telling them and giving emphasis when the market goes down, I mean, that doesn't help, calm the fears, but they should be reinforcing. And I don't know if people realize that that's what we do, though. As educators, we always informing people all the time. Okay, yeah, the market, goes up, the market goes down. And that reinforcement is a steady approach to investing during market downturns. And they should reach out to the clients, with even a group email, if they have a group email with other clients, just to keep them, in tune, and it offers the clients the opportunity to talk or meet. And this will calm fears and strengthen the bonds with advisors, which a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, we talked about insecurity. Now that's different than fear. That's usually specific to a client's particular situation. They could be insecure about their long-term financial security. And if you send out, if a advisor sends a note out to all his clients during a downturn, the insecure ones will contact the advisor back and want to talk about it, and you need to, if you're an advisor, obviously you need to know who's insecure. If you're a client and you're insecure, you should make sure you have that relationship where the advisor knows your situation and can relate to you and knows when these things happen, you might need a little reassurance. And that could be in the form of remind them that they put a plan together, that they took volatility into account. And if that doesn't work, you can go over the financial projections again and handle their risk tolerance to make sure they're comfortable with where they are. And those are the kind of things that can build a solid relationship to make sure, and showing them that their financial plan is based on solid thoughts, that their risk tolerance is taken into account, and that everything is okay. And that's going to ease that insecurity.
So, Dom, I got a question for you. Well, we lost your audio.
Huh? What happened?
We lost the audio. You back though.
Oh, okay.
But Dope, I got a question, man. Why do you think people do not engage, and especially people of color, financial advisors?
Well, I think there's that fear of I should be doing better than I'm doing. And you might be embarrassed by how much money you don't have and how much money you feel you should have, which is unfortunate because it doesn't matter how much you have. It just matters that you're building, that you're growing, that you get started and you move forward. And you get people who think they know enough. And we always call those the people who don't know they don't know. So they don't realize that with all the complexity involved in building wealth. I mean, it's crazy complicated if you look at the situation and all the different things that are involved in that, between taxes, planning for the future, tax law changes. Sometimes you have to move things around, and all the different stages of life you go through, where at one time you're building wealth, or one time you're trying to build to buy a house. So there's a bunch of reasons, and one of the major ones is, I'll do it once I get myself straight, and you never get yourself straight unless you start. It's one of those things you just got to dive in if you need help, and that's the key thing. if you can sit and absorb everything you need to know, or you fully understand all the ramifications of all, or all the implications of all the financial decisions you make, then you probably don't need an advisor. But if you don't have the time or the expertise, you need to have someone looking at your total picture. And a lot of people don't realize how complicated it gets as you build wealth.
When I found in my experience, though, when I was an investment advisor and a stockbroker, a lot of people didn't think they thought that it was just for rich people. I mean, I'm doing this in the like late '80s, right? And we were doing one-stop shop. We were doing comprehensive financial plans, doing the whole, providing a comprehensive plan, then providing the products and everything for it. And we would charge like $100 for people who made under $50,000. And these people are like, Bob, why do I need it? I'm like, no, you need it more than a person who has a bunch of money. So it's interesting, the mindset because when I started working for the FDIC, we had the thrift savings plan. We had two 401k plans. We had the thrift savings plan from the government because we quasi-government. We had the T. Rowe Price 401k. And people used to always be coming to me and asking questions. And I'm like, I learned my lesson about that, though, because I would tell them, and as soon as the market went down, they come back and go, why you tell me that, Bob? But what I'm finding is a lot of people just don't think, they make enough money to do it nowadays. I know a lot of people, especially you got a, 401k, everybody's always asking me, what should I do? An advisor can help you do that. But I want to talk a little bit about, this is what I deal with when I was dealing with, it was questioning the strategy. Sometimes a lot of people will question the strategy. Like this is one investment advisor. He said, diversification means always having to say, you're sorry. Like, why? Because diversification still results in portfolios declining in downturns and not increasing as much during up markets.
That's for sure.
That, as soon as I tell a person, oh, give me that money, they say, it took me 5 years to save. I said, okay, put it away for another 5 years and it double. It'd be a week gone by and they'd be calling me, Bob, what's up? What, and they'd be expecting all these large returns. Like I remember one client asked me, why should I invest, with you and earn 8% when I can get 30% on my own? And I'm like, you can? I said, well, don't you know there's a risk involved with that? And they like, well, and sometimes I just couldn't convince the person that an 8% return is really good. But they were hearing these things about people telling them they get 50% return. Like there's this company out right now, this couple, and she's a pastor, and they, I forgot what it's called. My sister Linda would tell me, put it in the chat, Linda, and they were like guaranteeing people like 6% a week. Now, though, where can you get 6% guaranteed a week? But people, they get greedy. But if the key is that you make sure they have an investment advisor who gives you an investment policy statement, and so you can handle and see the long-term strategy, and and this might calm people.
Yeah, and another crack may come when it comes to fees, and that's one you have to stay on top of, on top of. And when the markets drop, people pay a lot more attention to what fees they're being charged, and some wonder, why am I paying this if the market's going down, when there's really not a relationship between those two, other than the fact that he should be doing good work for you, but the market is going to go down. That's just kind of how it works. And so as an advisor, hopefully he's been demonstrating his value through the entire process. When the market's going up, when the market's going down. So then when the market goes down, you have a little bit more confidence that what you're paying him for is not for right now, because he really has no control over the market. He has some control over where you invest, but he doesn't really have any control over the market. So those are the kind of things with fees. You have to make sure you're looking at the long term, that the fees are reasonable, and that the guy's long-term plan is working for you. That's what's important there when it comes to fees.
Yeah, my man Carl Chapman says lack of understanding finances is why, some people don't get a financial advisor, which is,
He's absolutely right.
And it seems counterintuitive because you're trying to get with them to learn. But I must admit, when I started off, friends of mine were the first ones to hit the DC lottery. And I was just starting. And I wasn't sure, I didn't have a finance background, but they were teaching me these things. And I myself, as a broker, was, kind of skeptical because I didn't know. And I didn't want them to be taking my friends. So, I was even skeptical of my own company as financial advisors, which sounds pretty crazy. So, it takes a lot, though, to really consider engaging in a financial advisor.
Hey, Bob, and to Carl's point, and we've been trying to push this to you since we've been doing the shows. You have to have some level of understanding of finances, if only to convey your thoughts and feelings and goals to the financial advisor if you decide to work with one. So you have to understand risk, and you have to understand that the market is going to go down. It doesn't just always go up. Some people believe it does or thinks it should, but that's not how it works. So you have to put some time and effort in, regardless of whether you use advisor or whether you don't. So there's that long continuum of, I don't need to know anything to I need to know everything. But if you don't know anything, you're going to have trouble building wealth. It's as simple as that, because you have to be able to communicate and explain what you're trying to do, and you have to be able to understand what somebody's doing for you, and then analyze why you are where you are and have it make sense. So you aren't blaming a market downturn on an advisor and you're switching advisors every year or every other year just because the market's not doing what you want it to do. If you had some understanding, you'll know what's going on, you'll appreciate what's going on, and you can make sense out of what's happening.
Yeah, I want to introduce this word, exasperation. Exasperation occurs when the person has lost trust in a financial advisor or a person providing information for it. It can occur after long periods of not communicating or inattention to their accounts, no personalized attention, lack of thought for answers, or worse, unreturned emails or phone calls. So not paying attention to details leads to a lack of confidence and ultimately lost trust. So it's one thing to make sure, and that's what we talk about, a financial advisor that cares, that stays in communication with you, that keeps you up, that's very important to keep you, your aspirations down.
Yeah, and there's the other reasons you could leave or not have a good relationship with your advisor is your life situation may change. The guy may have a level of expertise in a specific area, and you come into some money and he can't handle that particular situation that you have, or you two could just be incompatible. You have to be able to communicate with each other, and him understand you and you understand him. So it's you want to build that relationship, but you got to realize when it doesn't work, and then you just say, okay, I need to find somebody else.
Yeah, that's true information. The other one is the lack of expertise. If a person thinks that their advisor lacks expertise or is not keeping up with industry trends, they may look for another advisor with great expertise or more specialized knowledge. Because that's really the key. If you really communicate and have conversations, and that's why it's important to have that communication going back both ways, so that you can actually identify and tell, should your advisor, does he have the expertise and the knowledge, to be able to handle, your portfolio.
You got to make sure you're compatible with this person. And if you decide to get an advisor, you don't, if you're not a risk taker, you don't want to have someone who is a risk taker. So you guys need to be on the same page. And if he's a good advisor, he should be able to temper his own personal feelings and make them yours. Okay. Again, having your best interests at heart. But some people can't do that. So you got to make sure the guy you're working with is on the same page as you, is compatible with you, and you and him have, can communicate clearly and easily. And this guy, again, has your best interest at heart.
Or guy or girl.
Person. Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, because it's this is your life possessions. It's so important to build a relationship and have a bond with somebody can really, really help you, because like we said, to build wealth, it takes a lot of work, and it's just not easy sometimes. But though you talked about life changes, right? A lot of people may choose to lose their advisors because the changes in their personal or financial circumstances. For example, if a client moves to a new city, they might want a local financial advisor. Sometimes when a client experiences a significant change in their income or situation, they may decide that they need an advisor with a different set of skills or expertise. And I know a lot of people, I know a particular person that just I just think they jump around a lot on different advisors, and that can happen too. I know you want a good advisor, but jumping from one advisor to another advisor is not too good either. But life changes, calls, and sometimes you just might have to change the advisor, especially if they don't have this expertise. And say you are starting to build your assets and have more complicated assets, and he may not have that expertise. And sometimes you just have to make that change.
Yeah, and the most important thing, if you want to be a happy client, okay, you want to make sure your advisor has reasonable fees, and that you're going to stick, you can build that relationship, and you'll stick with him even if their market downturns. You got to make sure his fees aren't unreasonable, of course, and you can avoid the hot tips that you hear, at the coffee machine, and even referrals from a friend. You can ignore those. If you feel the guy is working for you, has the right level of expertise, and you have trust in that guy, that's going to be a strong relationship, and you can build wealth with that person. But you have to have that trust, so you got to make sure you get the right person. It takes some effort, just like everything we talk about. It takes effort to find the right person, but you got to do the work to get there.
And we say this, and I know y'all have heard this, but we can't say it enough. Even if you get a financial advisor, that doesn't take you off the hook of at least understanding your own personal situation. And there's so many things out there to help you, like Investopedia. It's a great place to get information. And then the other, financial institutions, a lot of them have. We don't even have to be for like financial institutions. When I talk about them, I'm talking about like Fidelity, Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, Edward James. They have places that you can, suppositories where you can get information. But the other places like the SEC.gov, they have great stuff. The CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they have so much free information. There's no excuse not, and you don't have to become no expert, but it really helps if you get some basic understanding so you could know the questions to ask a financial advisor. Or I have a lot of my friends, say, Man, some of that stuff be going over my head. And I'm like, no, and I get that and I understand it. But though, I just find a lot of my friends just afraid to ask the question of things that they
Yeah,
don't know.
afraid to ask or feel they don't have enough money to start, and all the things we talked about. But the key thing is you got to get started. And if you don't have the expertise, you got to get the expertise. And you can't say that enough. Building wealth takes work. And as you build wealth, it becomes complicated. So if you need help, get help.
And so, I mean, this show, this show, and I won't notice a lot of people make comments, and I don't show all your comments because if some of them are personal. But if you have a question, we're here as far as financial educators. Like I said, we're not going to, try to give you financial advice for specific products. But if you have a general question about, like, oh man, what's the large cap fund, or why should what is the index fund? Ask us. If we know, we will answer you. But that's why we're here. And that's the whole point of talking about good financial advisors are hard to find because most people don't try to look for one. They don't try to engage. And the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. But
And Bob, you made a real good point a couple minutes ago. I just want to reiterate it. Just because you get an advisor, you still got to do some due diligence on how you're doing, review how you're doing, and you can't assume that person's going to be perfect because they could miss something too. You need to keep them informed of what you're doing. It takes work to build wealth. It truly does.
and so I hope anything that you get out of this show, seek advice, preferably from a person with the expertise, like a financial advisor, that can help you. But some of your friends got that too. So let's go to the summary and takeaways. Once again, some good information, and we just want to recap it for you because we just want you, to be more informed. So I'll start it off though. Success creates complexity. Now, you might have started off, with a little nest egg and you were lucky and somebody gave you some good tips and this portfolio is starting to build and you have a little bit more complex assets. Perfect time to seek a good financial advisor because your success, I've seen people run straight in the front door and run out the back. So sometimes the success could be overwhelming. And if you built a portfolio and just like Dope, as much knowledge that Dope had, I asked Dope this the other day. And Dope, I mean, I hope you can answer this before we go to the next one. Why do you have a financial advisor?
Just because of the complexity, there's just too many things that I can't stay abreast of, and I need that help from somebody who's looking at the total picture. They're looking at everything. They got Fidelity has people who are studying the tax laws, that study estate planning, and it's just another resource for me, and that's why the bulk of my money I have with a professional advisor.
Thanks for sharing that.
Okay, next one is don't be afraid to get help. Okay, don't let the fact that you don't feel you have enough money or it's just for rich people or you're insecure or whatever reason. Don't be afraid to get help. There's people out there who can help point you in the right direction if you don't have the expertise yourself. Again, if you have all the expertise, you don't need help, more power to you. But it does get crazy and you may need help at some point.
Now, the other one in that same ballpark is know when you need help. And my analogy, when you got yourself in a hole, don't go get a shovel. Go get a ladder. Go get some help. You got to know when you need help, and you need to seek it.
And finally, develop a relationship. If you decide to get a financial advisor, develop a relationship. Be brutally honest. Make sure he knows everything he needs to know so he can make a decision. You do your work so you can take the information with him so he can put a plan together for you and keep him abreast of things that change so he can make the necessary adjustments when that needs to be done.
So that's our show for this week. We hope it was helpful once again. This was our 117th show, which we getting up there dope. And as always, I like to do the roll call, a shout out. Modestine, who was on, Modestine was on at 8:01. Good gracious. And Gloria was right behind her, my sister. And Nolia, love you, darling. Thank you for your comments. And my sister Linda, I'm sure she's out. Yep, I just saw your call. And now, what's up now? Delta Sigma Theta's finest. And Garnett, how you doing, Garnett? Always a pleasure. Carl Chapman, glad you're on again this week. And Joanne Skinner, what's up, Joanne? And look, the international macaroni of Toastmasters, Miss Kitty Cheney. They call her the Into Maco of the Toastmasters. What's up, Kitty? Thank you for being on as always. And the noteexperience.com, Rodney L. Madison Sr. Rodney said, hello, I have to go to the table on this one. I got on so late. That's all right. You caught a good piece of it though, Rodney. So we hope that was helpful, you all. And like I said, you all help us out and put some comments in the comment box of topics or specific things you'd like to have questions that you have questions about. Put them in the comment box. Even when we get off of this, you can still put the comments in there because I go out there and look at them on the archive shows. And if there's any shows that you want to go back, you can go out on Facebook Live or YouTube, and you can find the archive shows. It's the one show that you want to go back and get some more information on. So thank you as always, you all. We really appreciate you tuning in. Me and Dodie do not take it lightly. We appreciate you taking the time every week. So we look forward to seeing you next week. Show number 118, dope. So have a good evening, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Peace.